When we reject the null, but it's a mistake, that's a type 1 error. When we accept the null, but it's a mistake, that's a type 2 error. I'd like to show you the type 1 versus type 2 error and also the power of the test. To illustrate the difference between a type 1 versus type 2 error and also the power of the test, I'd like to use a scenario similar to my previous video where the idea was that we're observing monthly returns for a fund manager. And so I have just two assumptions I'm going to make about a sample without showing the data. And that is that it's a barely large sample of 36 monthly returns. And we compute a standard deviation from that sample, so a measure of dispersion of the sample. When we compute the standard deviation from the sample, we want to call that a sample standard deviation. And I'm going to assume that it's 18%. So I'm just going to show that as an 18 and know that the units are in percentages. With those two pieces of information, I have enough to compute the standard error. And the standard error is the sample standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. And you may know that this sample standard deviation is an estimate of what we don't know. I'm trying to draw a Greek mu there. What we don't know is the population standard deviation. And so in this case, my sample standard deviation is 18, and I'm dividing by the square root of my sample size of 36. And so conveniently, that's by design, I have a nice round standard error of 3. And the standard error is a standard deviation. It just happens to be the standard deviation of the sampling distribution. In this case, the sample statistic is the sample mean. And so the standard error, that's something we do expect to change each time we go back and observe a slightly different sample. But just keep in mind that the standard error itself is a standard deviation. So then I have a choice here. Typically, the first choice that we make in the statistical test is the significance level, or alpha, and that's the probability of a type 1 error. So common choices here are 5% and 1%. 5% corresponds to a 95% confidence level. 1% would correspond to a 99% confidence level. So I'm selecting a 5% confidence level, and what that means is that I would like to have a 5% probability of a type 1 error. And the type 1 error is to reject the null hypothesis when it is actually true. So here's my null hypothesis, or how I'm capturing it. H sub 0 or H sub naught, the null hypothesis is that my population mean is 0. And notice it's denoted in Greek. My population parameters are typically denoted in Greeks, sigma and mu. My sample statistics typically denoted in Roman, capital S. So in terms of this scenario here, what that means is that my null hypothesis is that this manager does not actually have skill, does not actually add alpha, that his or her true excess return is 0. And so in the chart here, I capture that with the normal distribution here, and notice it's anchored on green. That's my null hypothesis, that the true mean is 0. And that means because I've selected the significance level of 5%, my corresponding normal deviate, or Z quantile, is 1.96, and that's because if I go out to the right, I can go out plus 1.96 standard errors, itself a standard deviation, and similarly I can go minus 1.96 standard errors or standard deviations, and you can see that's pretty close to 2. My standard error is exactly 3, so the product of those is almost 6 or 5.9, and that's why my quantiles here are negative 5.9 and positive 5.9, and so they carve out here a rejection regions on the left and right, each of which have half of this 5%, or 2.5% of the area under the curve. Also, I'll clean this back up. And then, so you can imagine what that means in terms of a statistical test. I haven't shown here the manager's average return over the 3-year period. But you can imagine that if the manager turned in, let's say, performance that we weren't thrilled about, a negative 3% sample mean, again, average return, we wouldn't be thrilled about it, but the distance from the null hypothesis would give us a test statistic that would be, in absolute terms, less than the critical value, and we would fail to reject the null hypothesis because we're in the acceptance region, and so we would implicitly then accept the null hypothesis. But this is colored in green to indicate that when the null is true and we accept, we've made the right decision. And so you can see that the mistake here, there's only one type of error we can make when the null is true, and that is to reject it, but as a mistake. And so that's indicated in red. And so, for example, if we were really disappointed, if it's our money, we're going to be really disappointed, -9 average performance, so that's the sample mean, it's going to be so far away from our null hypothesis, the test statistic's going to exceed the critical value, and we are going to reject the null. So really what happened here is they had very, very bad luck. The null may be true, and this is a very unlikely outcome way out here, but it is plausible or conceivable. We are going to reject the null, but we're making a mistake. And so this is the type 1 error on either side, and that it is to reject the null when it is actually true. And so that's the only version of the error we can make when the null is true. Okay, so now I'm going to just change an underlying assumption, just one, but it's everything, and that is that now we're going to go into the test with the same assumptions, but what we don't know is that the true population mean is -1.4. And so now what I think is the right distribution is actually goes from green to blue, and then I've colored in red what is actually the true distribution. And under this assumption, it's anchored at -1.4. So you can see its mean is just right about there. And so now, let's say the manager comes along and generates a -3, that same -3 return right here. That's the sample mean, that's the average mean that we observe in the sample, -3. The test statistic will be lower than the critical value, and we will be in the acceptance region, and so we will accept the null in this case. However, the null is actually false, so it's colored in red to indicate that we're making a mistake, and now this is the type 2 error. Because on the other hand, if the manager came in and turned in that pretty dismal performance of -9, our test statistic would exceed the critical value. We would make a statistical decision to reject the null, but that's the correct decision. So in this case, when the null is false, the only kind of mistake we can make is the type 2 error, to accept the null when it is actually false. And now you can further see that if we make an assumption about the true population mean, then we can actually compute here the probability of a type 2 error because, well, our rejection quantiles are at the same, +5.9 or -5.9. But here, in this case, right, this 5.9 is a distance from the true population mean of -1.4, and you can see I've got that marked right here. So this is plus 2.43 standard deviations, and this over here, this negative 5.9 relative to the -1.4 is only -1.49 standard deviations. So those are also just z values or normal deviates, and you can see that means we can compute the area here, this acceptance region which constitutes a mistake, we can compute that because we can take the cumulative distribution function here at this quantile, which happens to be here 99.2%, and we can subtract this normal standard cumulative distribution function, which happens to be 6.8%, and the difference between them here is 92.5%, and the 92.5% again is the area in the red region between the negative 5.9 and the positive 5.9 that demarcate our acceptance and rejection regions. So that means that if we take 1 minus that, the area in the tail in green here is the power. So power is 1 minus the probability of a type 2 error. And this type 2 error is more difficult. Both the beta as type 2 error and the power, which is 1 minus the beta, are more difficult to compute because whereas there was only one assumption about the true null, here, if the null isn't true, we have really an almost infinite choices of actual nulls, right? So for example, if I change the true null to -2, you can see this distribution shifts, and then my probability of a type 2 region here drops, and the power here of my test increases to 10.2, and I'll just do one more. I'll go to -4, so now my null is really incorrect, but the power of my test, this green region, has increased to 26.6%. So that, again, type 1 error is when we reject the null that's actually true. The type 2 error here is when we accept a null when it's actually false. And the power of my test is 1 minus the probability of a type 2 error. So I hope that's helpful.